Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. I've got Eugene with me. Hi Eugene, how you doing?
Doing well. Good afternoon, all guys in UK. All right.
Eugene's got in the chat. Hi Eugene. Everyone who's watching, get in the chat, get involved, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Hopefully got mate Mike coming on, who's a West Ham fan. We're obviously looking at the West Ham preview here, so hopefully get a perspective from the West Ham side. But me and Eugene obviously looking from the Tottenham side and talking about the nonsense of a performance yesterday against Vitesse, which we have to talk about. But first off, Eugene, Spurs You Asian TV, that's your YouTube channel. It'll be linked in the description. If people don't know where it is, where can they find that?
Spurs Vision TV on YouTube, or you can find me, right? I don't have much other things that other social media platforms now, apart from just Twitter. Twitter is usually my personal handle, but I just use it as the Spurs Vision place to do some media exposure and all that. But just to let you guys know, this Sunday there won't be a crazy stream because I have some Wi-Fi problems at the moment. Yeah, I can't do the watch along and the 5 shows and all that because I'm running on data nowadays doing my shows. So most probably I'll do an early show about 7:30 Malaysian time, which is actually 12:30 GMT, right? And it'll go on for about an hour plus. Then after that, we'll go on to watch the show separately. Sorry guys, this week no crazy stream. Hopefully by next week I get my home Wi-Fi sorted out, right? Instead of using mobile data doing all my streams, and that's a bit too taxing.
Excellent. Well, if you haven't seen it already, Eugene's mad streams are something to behold. A whole match day experience. So get over there. Mike's just joined in. I'll just add him on. Hey Mike, how you doing?
How's it going, guys?
Yeah. Hi Mike, nice to meet you.
Mike, this is Eugene. You are outnumbered 2-1 with the Spurs fans. Hopefully that's the score lines. You must be quite pleased with the European game yesterday.
Yeah, it was easier than expected. We expected it to be quite tough, and then first half wasn't really great. To be honest, it was a bit of back and forth between the two, but they weren't really creating a great deal. And then second half, got the 2 in 2 minutes, and then after that, it was just absolutely plain sailing. So happy days.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to Wayne Bonner, always on streams, always supporting streams. How you doing?
Big up, Wayne.
Cheers for the support. Come to you first, Eugene. Vitesse, 6th in the Dutch league against 5th in the Premier League. Literally everyone who started against Newcastle was told to stay at home, rest, watch TV, watch Squid Game, whatever on Netflix. Don't even bother doing anything. We have our second string out and we lose 1-0. Is our first 11? Oh, is our first 11 the second 11? That should be. Is our second 11 that bad? I'll take that off, being that's a typo. Is our second string that bad? I mean, a midfield 3 of Winks, Lo Celso, and Ali should be able to kind of run a game against Vitesse. And for me, Ali is done for me as a Spurs player now. Whether it's football or not, I'm not sure. He seems to be more concerned about his other projects than football. And Mike, I'm sure you can relate to that with Avril Morrison, who was kind of fairly similar. All this talent and just not interested, it seems. But I mean, Eugene, have we essentially got 2 teams, a Premiership team and a Championship team in our squad?
League One team or Championship team you think you have? It's going to be a League One team that we have in our side. That's the depth of our squad, Chris. When Nuno said that he's leaving the first 11 that didn't play, it's not on the plane to Holland, right? I just basically thought back, okay, we're going back to Pacos, all right? What happened in Pacos? We lost, correct? And more or less, the back 4 was the same with Davis there. More or less the same. Apart from, I think Romero was in Pacos, and to tell the truth, the depth squad, the depth of our squad, right, is 0. That's all, 0. And hopefully we do get into negative for that. And I was actually yesterday I was having a chat with Mr. K, and I was supposed to watch the match, and we were having a good long chat, right? And then I just decided, with that team, I'm not going to watch the match. So it was going okay. I was just saying, I wouldn't mind if we had a draw, but at least put up a good showing. You get what I'm saying? Right? We don't even have to win. Have a draw, put up a good showing, put up some fight. But the reports came back, were saying that we were like dominated by Vitesse most of the time.
Yeah, certainly in terms of shots I saw. But yeah, I watched the highlights today.
Six shots on target, and 6 shots on goal, 1 shot on target. And I was going, okay, let's hope. I don't know what to say. My only hope is that the January transfer window is coming along. Let's hope we can get some players to improve our squad, right? So
yeah. I saw the highlights today. I read about the match report. I mean, Halloween Kills is in the cinema. For Halloween, they want to be putting the replay of that game. It's just, I mean, a couple of comments here. Daryl Denton, how are you doing, Daryl? Take Son, Kane out of this. What we get team who don't create or score an assist, which we've been saying for 3 years. Death in the spotlight. How are you doing? Certain players are mentally checked out, not prepared to fight for their place in a team. There was one part where I think it was Dasser, I could be wrong, had a long-range shot. It was easily saved by Galini, but it came from a throw-in where 2 of our players went for the same ball, and then when the throw-in was taken, they were still off the side of the pitch. And I mean, Mike, it's complete contrast to your team, and I do wonder if Spurs have obviously been in the Champions League, Europa League, now they're in the conference, so it's kind of a moving down. So whether the players aren't that bothered, whereas for your team, you haven't been in Europe for however long, now you're in Europa League, big deal, all the players want to play in that. Mate, do you think it's a kind of similar Death in the Spotlight's comment there? Do you think it's a case of the level of the tournament?
No.
You guys, I don't want to say and tempt fate that you're pretty much through, but you've definitely put yourself in a really good position and look like you're taking it really seriously, Wes. I'm not sure we are, but
yeah, well, we've done a lot of rotation in those games. Obviously, we didn't rest everyone for your cup final, like you guys did for your cup final this weekend. I had to get that dig in. But in all seriousness, we played, I think, 4 of our first team, but I don't think it's anything to do with tournaments. The fact that Moyes has got a team that is willing to fight for everything. Even the players that don't really play, or ones that are kind of underperforming at the moment or trying to find their feet, they are still battling in every game. So like you said, you had a throw-in that went wrong and your players are standing there looking at each other going, ain't my fault. Whereas our lot, we're not pointing fingers until someone's either snapped the person who's got the ball or we're winning the ball back. And then it's pointing fingers. And I think that's the difference in terms of where the mentality is of some of the players of my team to the mentality of yours. And obviously we've got a second string that are trying to prove that they need to be kept and not moved on. Whereas your lot just seem to be quite happy to take a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, Eugene, where do you think that comes from? Do you think it comes from the first 11 are so much better than this second string? Or the fact that people like Ali, for example, seemingly don't really care about football anymore. They're more interested in Fortnite and what bonuses they can get on that and on this. I'm picking on Ali a little bit. I think it's more just because the frustration of where Ali was to where he is
Wings, Davis, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of trapping nowadays in football, right? So it's easy.
And the blame, I think, lies with Levy, right? He's allowed this kind of culture to build in our team, in our squad for the past 3-4 years, right? We're not without showing any kind of improvement or bringing players in that can push them, right? And like what Mourinho did last season, right? He only could get 20% or 30% out of the whole squad of players that he had, 20 or 30% that would actually follow his philosophy, right? A winning mentality, work hard, right? Put in a fight, have the fire in your belly to go out there to show and prove that you can do something, right? Like what you said, I didn't even watch the Vitesse game. I could more or less visualize it being like the Pacos game. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, we are keeping too many deadwoods on still. So we did get rid of some of them, but it could have been the wrong ones for all we know, right? Relieving Aurier, Sissoko and all that instead of letting maybe Davis go and Wings go, right? maybe they and of course Lamela went on a swap deal and all that, or Lamela would have done better. We let Ali go on a swap deal instead of Lamela, right? So, but it is what it is. We've been stuck for it for so many years. Hopefully, the hierarchy sees all these problems, which they should have seen it long time ago. And for the past 13 years, if they can't still see it, I don't think they will see it ever, right? Maybe they have some kind of mental block that they think they're doing well, I know. The fans want a certain thing, the owners want a different thing, so that's where we are. It's not like West Ham; they're building up. When don't forget, Mike, 2-3 years ago, when Gold was being pressured to break the wage structure, right, to put in more money into the players, and your fans made a lot of noise, and you got what you want, and at least now Moyes is back, and it's giving it. You're getting the fruits of the labor of
I think
of all the pressure.
There's a skewed perspective from outside of West Ham as to what the board have given to West Ham. What is clear is the club's money's been used, not their money. So we'll correct that bit. And in terms of wages, again, we are consistently trimming fat every season. So we have bumped off players for very low fee to get their wages off. So Sebastian Haller sold for 20 million. Unlikely we have a sell-on clause who's currently smashing it in Ajax and has now been earmarked for Haaland. So whilst on the face of things, business that West Ham doing looks good, it's actually quite poor. Same with Felipe Anderson. We sold him for about 2 million to Lazio for the season before because we just wanted him off our wage bill. We sent him to a club where a manager hates loan players, who had 2 players on loan, refused to play them. And the value on a player that we had for 2 years depreciated massively to the point where we possibly could have got 10, 15 million maybe out of Anderson had he had a good season. Not anymore. We've got 2 million, 2 to 3 million and a 50% sell-on clause. At 28, he's probably not going to get sold on from Lazio. If he does, we're not getting very much. So from the outside, it looks like we're doing some great business. But from being in the club, you actually see for what it is. And there's a lot of stuff that haven't gone so well. But because results are going good and certain players have now come to the fore, like Ben Rama has come good this season, we do spend money. That I would not dispute. What we don't do very well quite often is spend that money well. Because we don't.
No, Mike. It's the same with Spurs. Have you not noticed? We hang on to players like Ali, right?
The difference,
we bought him for £5 million,
Spurs,
right?
The difference with Spurs is we won't take a hit. Levy wants £40 million from me and a 49 player. No one's going to bid, so we have to stick with him. He wants 30.
At least you guys are willing to take a hit.
Player.
I think what's happened with you lot is that David Levy's believed his own hype in terms of he knows football. He's an incredibly good businessman, and I don't think any one of us on here can ever dispute that because he is a brilliant businessman and incredibly astute. And as much as Tottenham fans hate that, he always wants, for someone comes in for a penny, he asks for £1. But 9 times out of 10, he's getting that £1, right? Let's be honest. He gets what he wants and he doesn't sell until he gets it. And that, in some ways, you have to respect that as a businessman because he sold Bale for 90 million and it propelled you quite slowly, but propelled you onto what you got. But I think the problem is Tottenham, as what it was, were investing in young players and bringing through, and they were playing attacking football. They then forgot that and didn't allow Pochettino to continue that because there was like, no, now we need to go get high-profile players. And that's partly your fans' fault because partly your fans were doing that and calling for it. So he tried to do it, tried to go for the Ndombélés and people like that. And then when it didn't work, first bit of trouble, you kicked your manager out, and then you completely went a 180 and went from attacking guy who likes to develop players to Mourinho who looks at players as chessboard pieces, who wants to buy and do it. But it's true. And then you got rid of Mourinho, and then you brought in B-Tech Mourinho in Nuno. So if you've gone from this really attacking, developmental football club to players are chess pieces, move them around, bring players in, get a manager to set us up to be defensively sound and try and win that way. And it's complete culture shock. And players like Dele Alli, who, let's face it, from what you can take from the documentary you guys did, is a shit trainer. Sorry, I'm probably not allowed to swear on your channel.
Yeah, it's after 10 minutes.
You can say what you want.
He's a bad trainer, and he got told that. And he looked at it as a laugh, and then he was told, no, you're poor training. You need to sort it out. And then players all of a sudden were starting to get told and called up rather than being matey and chummy and having someone who basically told them how brilliant they were. Culture's changed, and all of a sudden your players don't really like it. Only Son and Kane, really, you can say, are players that I've excelled throughout the entire time. Regardless,
I'd say Højbjerg as well, but obviously he never had the Pochettino experience there, so he's coming with Mourinho. But yeah, I think Eric Dyer has that mentality. He's just not very good.
No ability.
But yeah, I mean, do you think, Eugene, the European games will be a factor? We obviously left everyone who's starting against West Ham at home, so they're fresh. West Ham, I think Mike said, started 4 of the players, but they were at home as well. So essentially, it's not really that much of a travel. All it is the fatigue of playing a game, maybe. But there's no travel in there, no jet lag or anything like that. Although it was only in Holland, so there's not.
You only went an hour.
Do you think the European games will be a factor, or like Mike says, they've got 25 players or however many it is, all chomping at the bit when they get in. They want to be the best and want to make an impact, whereas we've got 11 who are the first 11 and another 11 who look like they frankly don't give a crap. So do you think the European games will be a factor, or do you think it's like they wouldn't have ever happened?
To honestly say, I was telling you in before we went on live that this could be a master stroke by Nuno, or it's going to be a big backfire by him, because he pulled out actually the whole first team and to bring over a youth team or whatever kind you can say. I was saying a Spurs B team, right, to play Vitesse in Holland. Maybe giving the guys a rest could be a good thing, because like Harry Kane has been, tell the truth, Harry Kane, Son, our top players have been overplayed for the past season and a half since Mourinho's been there. And Mourinho's been overusing them because he had no other players to play on. He couldn't rely on them. So this could be a good rest for them. The positive thing that maybe they'll come up fighting, right? But like in a day, the desire, the passion, the fire, the hunger, right? Going to West Ham to play this derby, all right? And don't forget, guys, we have not performed well in derbies recently. You know, look at Chelsea at home, Crystal Palace away, right? And what about Arsenal away, right? But somehow or another, during the Villa game, we started to click, right? And of course, maybe during the Newcastle game, we should have hammered Newcastle. I don't know what happened there. Newcastle was so weak, but we were just like, playing for the fun of playing after being 3-1 up, right? And after somehow Eric Dyer conceding an own goal with his knee, if I'm not mistaken, right? He couldn't even get his head to it. He had to hit his knee for it to bounce in. I don't know, but if you say that being used to a team playing Thursday and Sundays, Spurs should have that a bit of advantage. But for Mike's team, West Ham, they didn't go away. They still played at home, and you only just had 4 changes or 4 first teamers that played.
4 starters, so it's
four regular starters that played, right? So more or less you rested half the team too. So I know it's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be challenging, right? It's still a derby between us London fans. Like I said, desire, passion, the hunger to win, that usually comes into the derby more, right? So we have not shown that in any of the 3 London derbies that we played in. So let's hope we do show it this time, right? To me, resting the players by Nuno could be a masterstroke, or it could be a flop. It could be a big flop for
Yeah, I think if you was to lose this weekend, then outright then questions are going to get asked of Nuno, because he's not had the best start. And if he was to lose this weekend after resting everyone, then
it still doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a big game for us, because we need, after our last 2 Euro games, we've not performed so well. So we have to perform this game. It's more of a mental.
Is that a shock to the system? You haven't been in Europe before, so you're unused to the Thursday, Sunday, or do you think
it's a small squad? We've had to rely on Declan Rice, who's played a hell of a lot of football in the last couple of years, with all of the England games. Obviously, Nell playing twice a week as well. And And I think, to be honest, we talk about it's a lot of games and stuff, but really, if you're in Europe, it's basically if you was in the Championship, you play Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Saturday kind of thing. So to say that these players can't do it is not true. It's just the fact that for some, it's a culture shock. We've got players like Bowen who has, obviously he's been in the Premier League for a good couple of years now, but, he was used to playing twice a week anyway when he was at Hull. So it's not.
That's true.
Obviously, the level is higher. The fitness levels have to be higher because of you play at a higher intensity. And it's not alien for players to play 2 games a week. It's just when you're in the Premier League and you're not in European competition, it is. And I think we've seen a lot of players that have struggled for fitness. Rice has looked knackered in a couple of games because he runs himself ragged. We've got Souček, who not only does he play literally every game, he runs every blade of grass every game. And the same with Soufal. Soufal's he's like a little Jack Russell. When anyone comes down his wing, he'll nip at your heels and then he'll do it all the way up to your elbow if he has to. But, he's that kind of player who will chase everything down his side and he doesn't stop for 90 minutes. So I think we've seen some laboured performances on the game after Europe because we haven't, especially in the first game at home and against Zagreb, they invested so much in those games to get through them that come the weekend, I think it wasn't necessarily physically tired. I think it was mentally. It was just the tiredness of having to invest in all of that and then coming back. I think it kind of can get you. And if it comes down more to the mental rather than the physical, in my opinion, I think that's what you're struggling at the moment with some of your players, that physically they're there, mentally they're somewhere else.
We'll get to that in one of the comments. Darryl Denton here. We're buying players with potential who haven't won anything, and we question them when they're mentally weak in games. We need to buy a few experienced winners, not just risks. And having a 17-year-old backup striker is just self-sabotage, which pretty much what you're saying. And what you were saying earlier, Death in Paradise has said, nobody has an issue with Levy, the businessman, done an incredible job with the commercial side, but he's been shockingly bad on the football side. It's hurt our progress. Pretty much exactly what you snapshot. Pretty much exactly what
I think
you said. But I think with Pochettino, we had a mix. We had the experienced players, the Alderweirelds, the Vertongans, the Dembélés, and then we had the youngsters, the Allies. Kane was still relatively young there. Ericsson fairly young as well. And we had a mix. Whereas now, like you say, Mike, we're we're buying the Mourinho players. Mourinho needs ready-made players. He can't develop players. And like you say, we've gone completely arse about face in terms of where we were to where we are now. And people like Ali, who are only used to a coach and a Pochettino, just don't know how to cope with it and don't have the mentality like Darryl says there. But in terms of the game, I don't know if you saw our game, Mike, against Newcastle. Ndombele in midfield could have got the ball, gone to the cinema, watched Venom, got back, still and probably had more space than he had before he left. But it's going to be a completely different game to Newcastle.
I've got to go get my front door, so I'll be back.
All right.
I'll ask you then, Eugene. He had so much space there, and then they decided to change it with a high defensive line. Obviously, they must have seen what Son and Kane did to Southampton when they did that. But West Ham will be completely different, won't it? Moyes will have this scouted, have a game plan of how to stop our danger players getting the ball. So it's going to be a completely different game, right?
But you must remember, Chris, what happened last season. We played West Ham. We were up 3-0 in the first half an hour or so, right? And after that, we crumbled in the last 9 minutes for them to draw. And if I'm not mistaken, the away game that we played in West Ham, we lost, right, Mike, last season?
Yeah, that was 2-1 when Bale smashed it against the bar with the body almost over his head.
2-1, sorry, yeah. It was,
that game, we were awful in the first half. West Ham didn't have that many chances, but you take your chances when they come. We played well in the second half, but it was too little too late. But
we literally had, I think, a shot in the second half, and that was Lingard's. And then after that, we just dropped off. To be fair, Bale came on and changed that game for you.
But I mean, it would be a completely different game to our Newcastle game, Mike. I don't know if you saw it. Ndombele had so much space, and then they decided, all right, we'll play a high line in defence. Presumably not scouting what Son and Kane did to Southampton last year. But
take Newcastle as the.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
Newcastle isn't even there. No, I think Newcastle play like a weekly wonder at the moment.
I think
that's what I'm saying, Mike. It will be completely different against West Ham because you will have Moyes will have scouted where Tottenham's danger players are and will have a game plan to nullify that whilst at the same time having an attacking threat. This is a real tricky game for us.
And I think it sounds a bit arrogant, but I don't think we're necessarily going to concentrate on how to nullify your best players, and that's not any disrespect to them or not any disrespect to you, Tottenham. But I think it's the fact that we know full well, looking at Tottenham, we know what their problems are. It's going to be Kane dropping deep, trying to ping it over the top for Son. That is fundamentally, you break it down, that is the Spurs tactic.
Well, I think if Ndombele plays well, that wasn't the case against Newcastle because he got so much space. Then there were runners off him. So there's two kind of space.
He's going to be playing against Declan Rice and Souček. So what happened against Newcastle ain't happening. To be honest, he'll get time and he'll have some time, but he's against statistically the best tackler in the league in Thomas Souček, who covers every blade of grass and is built like a brick. And then we've got Declan Rice again, who also covers every ground, physically strong and gets everywhere. I think, to be honest, we'll concentrate more on your weaknesses, which is going to be basically turning around to Antonio and saying, put yourself on Eric Dyer and hit him. Hit him every chance you get. Run in behind him. He's going to either make a mistake or he's going to bottle it at some point because it's Eric Dyer. It's what he does.
Eric Dyer doesn't move. That's all.
Yeah.
Just watch.
You can't play a high line because we've got players who will play the ball in behind, and Antonio will chase everything. Even if he doesn't have a good game, he chases everything. And I'm not saying, it's going to be a tough game against Tottenham. You guys got very good players. There's no two ways about it, and you've got a lot of pace up front. But also, I'm pretty sure we'll be concentrating a lot more on your weaknesses than we will your strengths because your strengths are so well known. It's going to be, in fact, how can we exploit them at set pieces? How can we exploit them defensively? Because defensively, you're a bit weak because bar Holberg, your midfield doesn't really work very well in terms of defensively. So,
I'd slightly disagree with that with Skip and Højbjerg.
This season a bit better with Skip and Højbjerg.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same as West Ham, but you've got Rice and Souček who are kind of they don't go forward a huge amount.
I disagree with that one, but
the main thing is to support
did Rice
the
and Souček played last night?
Sorry, was that?
Did Rice and Souček play last night?
Yeah, they both played. Yeah, Rice played about 60 minutes, then was subbed, and then Souček because Souček played 90 minutes because he can play 90 minutes in a day. Sometimes that's the way he is. He's a bit of a machine.
Our Højbjerg.
Yeah, he's an absolute machine.
Do you think, Eugene, it's a massive game for Skip and Højbjerg because, like Mike said, our issues, our defence, and together this season, certainly in the last two games anyway, they've looked good in terms of nullifying the attacking threat. I know we've conceded goals, but it wasn't down to the midfield. So do you think they're going to have a huge role in making sure Antonio doesn't get a run? Although he'll be playing against the last man, so I'm not sure they'll be able to stop that. But certainly West Ham's attacking midfielders and giving us a bit of stability to be able to allow, I'm assuming, Ndombele playing more of a Kane Son to do what they do.
But like what Mike has said, right? Ndombele is not going to get so much time and space that he had at Newcastle, right? So, and the only thing is that let's see how far forward we push. Because if you keep Ndombele in the middle of the field, right, in the center, and he does his magic in the center, it's useless. You get what I'm saying? Because he has to do it at least nearer to the penalty box to have an effect to create goals. If you put him further to the center circle when he does all his twists and turns, stop and jiggle here, jiggle there, it comes up to zero because by the end he does that, 4 players will be on him and he'll lose the ball. That's what's always been happening. He needs to be faster, more reactive than, more proactive instead of reactive, right? But like what Mike is saying, with Rice there, I guess they will marshal him well. But the thing is that if he can go further up a bit, maybe Højbjerg pushes further up a bit with Skippy pushing it further up a bit, then maybe you can do a bit more for Ndombele to produce the passes that he can do. But when you do that, you might leave a gap between the defense and the midfield, right? And that will cause another problem for us, is that when that happens to us, and when you have Dyer right there, and let's hope Romero is okay to handle the derby atmosphere and all that, you won't have your backup from Højbjerg or Skippy. Don't forget, Skippy is something like what you said. Højbjerg and Skippy is like what Mike is saying. Your Suchek, right? He'll chase everything down. He'll cover every blade of grass, right? And he'll snap at your feet. So if we don't have these players to cover our defense and make sure that, like Benrahma is being in check, right? And make sure that, let's say Emerson doesn't overdo his things, like he goes up and doesn't come back down. Somebody has to cover him, And nowadays we see Reguilon doing a lot of defensive work instead of attacking. But he does attack once in a while when he's given space. But when it comes down to scenarios like that, like what I come to bottom line is desire, the hunger to win. That's all. It's a London derby. You have to show that. If you don't show that and you lose that, even 2 or 3 players lose it, you crumble, right? And we've crumbled in the past 3 London derbies, and we've conceded 3 goals in the last 3 London derbies, right? So I'm a bit skeptical as what's going to happen.
I think there's going to be
Sunday.
There'll be a good ebb and flow, I think, in the game, because both sides will want the win. Your senior players will want the win to kind of prove the point of
A team.
They will want to prove the point that they deserve to play every game, and Tottenham are still Tottenham, shall we say? But also, it's, as you said, they've been turned over in other London derbies. They're not going to want to be turned over again.
Hopefully
By little old West Ham, because and that's the thing that always makes me laugh, is the consistent talk of within fan base of we're not a rival to Tottenham, and yet when we lose, you don't hear the end of it. As a West Ham fan, you don't hear the end of the moaning, and it's like, if we're not a rival, it shouldn't matter if you lose, right? So either we're a rival and it hurts you when you lose, or we're just that's just a crap game. So it's one or the other. In the end of the day, we are rivals geographically. In terms of competition over recent years, no, we haven't been.
Apart from last year.
Apart from last year, and other years we've been a bit of a thorn in your side in a couple of important games. And ultimately, the game where you crumbled effectively was the game that got us over the line into Europe. If you look at the points, really, that game is the one where you go, we had no right to be back in that game. We should have been never back in that game.
Yeah,
getting the point as we did end up being, I believe, the point that put us in above you. So, according to his parents, what a pivotal game that was in terms of the season. But I think also that was a pivotal game in getting the players to really buy into Moyes. And after that game, the buy-in was just brilliant. And I think this game we're going to have Sunday, it's going to be an interesting one, because it's hard to predict. Because you could say, based on form, both in the league, both of us have been at times a little sketchy. We've not had a great home form. So arguably, us being a home team, we're going to be expected to come out and attack you guys, which could fall quite well into you, because obviously being, having good counter-attackers with Lucas, Son, and Kane, that's good pace and movement with Kane. So arguably, you're going to find spaces. But if we can control the midfield, then arguably that's where you can control the game. If we can get a good handle of that, I would expect we're going to be looking at people like Fornals as well, dropping into the centre to kind of create more overloads. So in possession, we're not really going to be that, 4-2-3-1 formation. We're probably going to be more of a 4-3-2-1 kind of thing. And then we're going to have to rely on Cresswell on the left to give us that width, because I imagine Fornals is going to be dropping more centrally to kind of give us that overload to really try and not capitalise, but to try and take that game by the scruff of the neck in the centre. That, like you said earlier, what would be interesting is if Tottenham do try to push up quite a bit, what happens in behind, because we have Benrahma, Bowen and Fornals all in decent form, who are all very rotational behind that line. So it's very hard to pick up if you're a fullback, one of those players, because they keep coming in centrally, then all of a sudden it's Tufal's fit, or even Johnson at the moment, who seems to be playing well. Our wide players push, or our fullbacks push very wide. So we have a lot to counter Tottenham, but again, also if on the converse side of that, you keep your players up high in Son and say Mora in the right and the left hand flanks, if we're pushing up high with our fullbacks, then there's space for you to exploit. So it's going to have a real ebb and flow. I think this game, it's hard to predict who would win it. Could you say on paper, Tottenham by and large have the better players, but you would probably argue at the moment the better team is West Ham, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, your squad. I mean, you have more depth in your squad, I guess, right? We will have the first 11, which is better, right? And then if somebody has to be taken off, which actually made it very weird for me last week when I saw we didn't make a substitute when we played Newcastle. I was thinking, was it because it was so easy that we didn't need to make a substitute? Or maybe Nuno was frightened to make a substitute that, if he takes one person out and the puzzle will break apart. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm still sitting there scratching my head. I mean, is Newcastle that bad that we didn't need a substitute? Or,
if we at least he didn't make a substitute in a game that we won rather than the Palace game or the whatever game it was where we lost and he didn't make a bloody sub. I think it was the Palace game. But Mike, you mentioned your forwards there going inside. I think that's where, like Death and Spotlight says, Skip and Højbjerg will be crucial. He also worries Ndombele won't turn up, though, as West Ham will make it very difficult. And that goes back to Eugene's comment. We've lost 3 London derbies. London derbies are about who wants it more. West Ham, their fans are going to be bang up for this. Is it the first London derby with fans, or were their fans were in last season? I don't think they were. But either way, it doesn't matter. Your fans always want to beat us. So they'll be up for this. That will translate to the players. Your players, like you've said, are going to be bang up for it. And I do worry about that. But I just want to ask, Mike, before we go into the game a little bit more, you're 7th in the league. What are your thoughts on West Ham's start? Because I thought you'd struggle this season, being that you've got Europe. Yeah. That, but you are 7th. Whether that goes throughout the rest of the season, if you get further into the competition, which at this moment in time looks like that's a good possibility, and like you say, you've got a small squad, and whether you start to drift down as the games become more pressurised and more games. But thoughts on your start? I think 9 games in at the moment.
Yeah, points wise, we're better off than last year. This time last year we were actually in a worse position. I think was in worse position than what we are now. So should we manage to keep what we've been doing going until January, then obviously we're going to be in a very strong position for the final part of the season. But then therein lies the main problem for West Ham, is that when we've had positions of strength in the league, especially under Gold, Sullivan and Brady, investment hasn't been the thing. It's been let's do with what we've got. We'll try and bring someone in if we can, but it's probably going to be a loan deal. It's probably not going to be a player that could then be the player that we bring in over the course of the next few months, and then next season is going to be the player that we need to kind of help us to go up that level. I think if we can carry on as we are until January, that's brilliant. But then January poses its own questions, because it's not only do we get past that heavy schedule, we're probably still in Europa League, or if everything, as I say, goes as it is. Then it's that there's a lot of games that are going to have happened. There's going to be a lot of heavy legs, because we don't necessarily have that rotation, central midfield. Definitely don't have rotation up front, because, we have Antonio and that's it. The only other option is to either try Yarmolenko or Bowen in that position. Whilst they can both do a shift, they're not natural in that position, and Bowen will work hard.
At least you got Yarmolenko and Bowen. You got Scarlett.
Yeah, you can't run. Watching Yarmolenko run in the Premier League is like watching someone run through treacle. It's just, it's painful. But yeah, I think January is going to be massive for us. At the moment, I'd say we're in a really strong position and we're doing well. If we can maintain it, then we could be in for an exciting season. I think one of the cups is definitely out, though, because we've got Man City next round. So I think the Carabao is completely gone. It'd be nice to have a bit of a...
Mike, that's not the Carabao Cup. That's the Man City Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
So just give it to them. Right? They've won it the past 5 years, so just give it to them. So you should just cancel the competition and just give the cup to them.
Exactly. So we're up against the cup holders and owners in the next round. So that game is pretty much over. before it starts, arguably. I don't know. It's tricky because, it's hard not to get excited and keep your feet on the ground, because at the moment, what Moyes is doing is amazing.
True.
From the outside, it looks like he's getting an incredible amount of support in terms of financial backing and players. But there was, quite clearly during that transfer window, he also wanted a centre forward, at least a winger, left or right side, and he wanted a left back, and he didn't get them. So you then have to worry that, do we have enough to get us through to January? And then do we have enough money in which to go and get at least two of those positions without that then affecting our summer budget, which is often the case with West Ham. It's, you can have your money now, but you don't have it then. It's that kind of...
It's very similar. We're very similar teams.
Similar, yeah. It sounds
very
similar.
Teams.
More dollars than we do, to be honest.
But we don't spend it well, Mike. You get what I'm saying? We buy a lot of players.
In recent years, I agree. You've spent it poorly in recent years.
Yeah. Very poorly.
I'm sure you'll love, Mike, than me saying that West Ham are like Spurs, but it is very similar kind of situation. But
to be honest, mate, there was a point where West Ham fans begrudgingly would say, we would like to be like Spurs in that you were buying young talent cheaply, developing them, bringing them through, and getting success. Well, relative success.
Well, I think that 16-17, a lot of teams would have wanted to beat Tottenham. A lot of, me and you, Mike, know a couple of West Ham, Man United fans who agreed that we were the most attacking and attractive teams watching the league, and I can't imagine that's just reserved for Man United fans. But Eugene, we went from that attacking team, like Mike said, to Mr. Defensive Jose Mourinho. Now we're Mr. What are we? Nuno. We started off the season pretty well, or very well. 3 games in, should have ended there, really, the league, top of the league. And then we obviously had our 3 losses, which were absolutely shocking. And now we seem to have started an attacking way of playing. I know it's only 2 games, and one of them was against Newcastle, who I could have set up a team there and been attacking with that amount of space. But it was attacking play nonetheless. Will Spurs continue to attack in this West Ham game? Or like Mike says, with Fornals, Bowen, and I can't remember, Ben Barmer, and then Antonio, will Nuno, as a defensive-minded coach, then go into the mindset of what can West Ham do to us rather than what we can do to them? How do you see this game going in Spurs attack or defend respect?
To me, how I see it, to be honest, is that this is our managerial debacle that we had, right? 72 days without a manager. By the time we got Nuno in, it was like 45 days before the season starts, right? And when he gets back, he doesn't have his full squad there. Then you get the Kane problem, right? And all in all, I understand where Nuno stands. He's been with this squad of players less than 3 months, and a whole squad of them together less than 2 months, right? So I think he's slowly feeling out what the players can do and what the players can't do, right? And what he did yesterday with the Vitesse game, maybe he did it with the Pacos game. The first time was a test, because that was like 2 or 3 months ago when we were just doing the last qualifying leg for the ECL, right, European Conference League. Okay, and now he's done it again to give these guys a chance to see whether they can perform. And I hope he can see that they're useless and they have to be thrown aside or maybe sent away. All right. I mean, like now Newcastle is such a big buyer. Maybe you can sell Newcastle wings, Ali, Davis, send the whole lot there. Right. But
I'm not sure.
Along the way, for a manager to know his team, it takes time. So to say the results that we got against Aston Villa and Newcastle, during the Aston Villa game, I was already shouting at I was doing a live watch along. Remember, Chris? I was already cursing and shouting, "What are you guys doing? Why don't you turn the ball over faster? Why are you so slow?" Because I can see that Villa wasn't on that day. Villa was like, sitting back. Villa was playing like Newcastle, to tell the truth, right? And the whole match during the watch along against Villa, I was saying, why is Villa playing like Spurs? You see? So
I do remember that.
Why is Villa playing like Spurs? You see, but we got the result. That's the most important thing. Then you come to Newcastle. I thought when that first goal went in, I was going, oh dear, it's going to happen. It's going to be bad, right? But as the game progressed, I saw, what is Newcastle doing?
Right? Do you think in those two games, Eugene, there's been a bit of a mentality shift? Obviously, Chelsea, Palace, certainly that first half against Arsenal, when we conceded the goal, we ended up sinking into ourselves. Villa, we conceded the goal, went up the other end and scored. Newcastle in a massive game for them.
The scary part is like this. When the teams playing against us, when they are mentally weak, we know how to take advantage of them. Right? But now, if we come against a team which is mentally strong, we crumble.
But we're also mentally weak as well. So when a team score against us, that's got to have the effect.
That's why we are basically mentally weak too.
I just hope
let's see what happens with the West Ham players. Are they coming out? And don't forget, they're at home, guys. They're at home. And you're at home, right? With your home fans behind you, you guys aren't going to sit back and let Spurs do their thing, correct? You guys are going to be on our back straight away.
I think though with the Newcastle
you guys
game,
are trying to hump us.
that Newcastle game though is obviously, when you get Anton Deck on a TV channel which isn't ITV, it's a big deal. They're on the TV cameras a lot. So it was a massive deal for the Newcastle fans. They get their goal first minute. The fans are even louder than they were before the game, and then we managed to slow the game down, shut them up, and turn the game around. So based on how we did against Chelsea, Palace, Arsenal, where we conceded a goal, that's game over essentially because we haven't got the mentality to shift that. And the fact that we are attacking, it's always, if you're going to lose a game by trying to win. Don't lose a game by trying to defend and then getting picked off. But I'll throw the question to you, Mike, at West Ham now. Will you attack or sit back? Being that, you've already kind of mentioned that you've got the forwards there that can cause us problems and our issue is defence. But then obviously we've got if you just count Kane and Son, two world-class players there that can, on their day, destroy teams. How do you think it will go? Or do you think it will be more of a case of the first half is two teams feeling each other out? Maybe if it's 0-0, the same in the second half until it gets to maybe an hour or 65 minutes go, well, one of us has got to win, might as well be out.
Judging by how we played against United this year, we played that game perfectly. I know it sounds ridiculous to say that because we lost 2-1, but arguably we could have had a couple more goals, and obviously the last minute penalty happened. But we showed them no respect. We went for them from the very first minute. I think against Tottenham, that will be the thing as well. And I don't think the crowd will allow a pensive, pragmatic approach. And we've not played like that in recent, I could say years now, actually under Moyes. In the last 18 months, we've slowly started to show less respect to big teams. At times last year, we showed too much respect and we got turned over. And in other games when we didn't, we gave them a good game. So I don't think we will turn up against Tottenham and sit back. I think there'll be times in the game where we are very pragmatic with what we do. I think in the opening 10 to 15 minutes, I would expect us to kind of come at you as Newcastle did. But what I would probably say is we probably have a better fitness level and a better mentality than Newcastle did, because Newcastle, once they start getting pegged back, they seem to be, you could see in their heads, they seem to be going, oh, here we go again, before they conceded.
Yeah. Well, you can tell they're a relegation threatened team, can't you?
And I think,
language and how the game panned.
Yeah, and we've got players like Zuma who will be more than up for it. He's used to big games and, he's used to Champions League type level games. So for him, in his mind, that'll be what it is. To him, it'll be, no, this game is that level. Everyone else needs to be at that level. And, Rice at the moment is playing some great stuff, and they seem to sort out their dynamic between him and Everton. Everton have been really good this year. We dominated them through that game. We went to Goodison Park and had about 60% of possession. That's not something that really happens at Goodison Park, but we controlled it. It was only 1-0, but it wasn't a huge amount of chances, but we controlled that game quite well. And, had our front four been making the right decisions on the day, That's it. And I think that's our problem sometimes. And that's where the one thing that concerns me when we play against some of the big teams is that sometimes the decision making in that front four doesn't always come together. When they're all clicking, it's brilliant. We can score quite a few goals. I think that's where Lingard did very well last year, because his decision making was a level above what we had. Technical level and ability wise, probably about the same level, but it's his decision making which was exceptional, which is why he did so well. So I think if we make the right decisions in game, then I think we'll really test your defense, because they get in some really great positions because of the way they're allowed to rotate. They're all pretty good defensively as well. So I just can't see it being a game where we're going to want to defend. You've got players like Benrahma. His first thought is never going to be, I want to defend. His first thought is, I want to dribble around him, and him, even if they're in my own box, before I even think about passing it. We seem to be getting some of those mentality players coming through, or at least players now starting to think, well, I have the ability to take that man on and beat him, regardless of who they are and their stature. It seems to... Moyes seems to have changed their mentality to not show as much respect as we used to. So I would assume we're going to go for it. I think the funny part is, mate, the first tackle in the game, I think, is going to sum the game. If someone goes thundering in from West Ham in the first 2 to 3 minutes, the crowd will go nuts. If someone absolutely clatters a Tottenham player, then the roof will go off and the West Ham fans won't come down unless we go down or 1 or 2 down.
But that first tackle there, that first 50-50 sets a tone for the rest of the game. Obviously, goals change games and things like that. But in terms of intent, a few comments here. Bob Spur, you watch the quiz. We need to get him to meet Jonathan Blondell. He seems to love Jonathan Blondell. How you doing, Bob? Also, all about momentum in the league now. Big boys do their big stuff. Sunday, big up. Absolutely. 2 wins out of 2. We need to get 3. We need to get 3 now. We need to go on a run. But in the same way, West Ham, you're looking at the big boys now, 7th in the league, Europa League, looking at do the same or one better. Mark Sweeney, how you doing, Mark? Moyes has really created a team willing to fight for each other, a bit like Poch. On paper, we're stronger, but their work ethic and team togetherness could see them get the win. Score draw for me. We'll come to predictions later. But absolutely there, Mark. I think it reminds me of Pochettino's team, everyone willing for each other. And you've got a way of playing and a set way of playing. So when people come in, they know the job, because they know if they're at left back, the role of the left back in this team is A, B, C. With Mourinho, it was, there's more formations Mourinho played than there are options for formations on Football Manager. And every game it changed. And that can only be a bit confusing. And one question to you, Mike, from Jay Ashraf here. I think the answer to this would be no. But will Moyes get poached by Newcastle? I think they'll need a manager that kind of settles them down, similar to Mark Hughes, and then they go for the big manager.
I think Moyes is quite canny, right? He's not a simpleton as much as many of us also said at one point, and even I was one of them, saying that he was a dinosaur, But he is not. He's proved not to be that. He already used interest from Celtic to get certain concessions out of the board prior to signing in the summer. If Newcastle were to come calling, which it doesn't seem like they are.
No, it's Fonseca, I think.
Fonseca, it looks like it's going to be Fonseca, which again is a big risk. He's a name and he's done well at clubs like Shakhtar and Roma in his time, but it's a risk. I think if Moyes was to have had interest, I think he would have invited it, but with no intention to go in. I think he would have invited it to essentially got more money out of the club.
Yeah.
Not for himself.
Darryl thinks they should be going after Valverde, but it looks like Fonseca.
Yeah,
I think they'll get Fonseca.
I think, to be honest, if I was Newcastle, I wouldn't be doing that. I would be straight up looking at someone like Potter. That's a guy who has taken a average team, understands how to get points in a relegation battle, and he understands how to build a foundation and a very, very good identity. Giving him money would be interesting. I think the other names, they're headlines. Potter isn't one that
they're not ready for that yet. They're not ready for Conte yet. They need someone to steady the ship and get them to at least Europa League level, like Mark Hughes did at Sea. Then you can get your Mancini's or your Contes or Pellegrini's to go and.
The thing is, you never know. If you look at what Brighton are doing, for instance, and what they're doing on their budget, they've invested and been very clever in that they're going young. They've got these very core players, like Dunk and I can't remember I think a couple of others, just names escape me, like Lallana, for instance. They have these core, experienced eldermen of the team, but then they have these young players that they've developed over time, over the past 2-3 years, which has seen some lean times. Granted, it's seen them down by the relegation, but look what he's doing now. If they could get someone who could bury goals, that model, what they've done is what Newcastle have dreamed about, right? And that's how some of them have eulogized what it was like under Rafa, when it was actually a boring, drab defensive team that conceded very little and actually earned one less point than Steve Bruce has in his time. But you still glorify Rafa because you didn't concede. You vilify Bruce because you concede. Truth is, you've scored more under Bruce and you have one more point in the same duration of time. So if you really break it down to bare tax, that's what it was. They did have 7 wins in the last 36 or whatever games. So yeah, they were shocking at the same time. But when you really boil it down, they're kind of their overall pieces were the same. So I think for Newcastle, they need a Potter. For me, if it was just me, I'd be going all out for Potter than anyone else. Everyone else is headline grabbing and, quite frankly, a distraction when you're in a relegation battle. You don't want that. You want someone to come in who knows the league and knows how to get players that, all intents and purposes, people just said the cannon fodder are getting relegated, to galvanise them into a team that just goes, no, we're good enough to be here. And now look at them. That's the type of manager you want, not someone who's going to come in.
Who would you be looking at, Eugene, if you were them, quickly?
Oh, if I were them, right? When December comes, getting Conte. January comes, spend 190 million, right? And hopefully you get out of the relegation situation that you're in. And from there, you push on. But I don't know. I've had a lot of Newcastle fans come onto my channel, and somehow or another they're very, very patient. Some of them are willing to wait up to 5 to 10 years for results to be shown. So kudos to them. If it was me, you got 320 billion behind you. What the hell are you waiting for? Right? What the hell are you waiting for?
Though, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, what the hell are you waiting for? That's what I'm saying, right? Do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the problem, though, isn't it? Now that is the expectation. It's everyone wants immediate success, and no one's willing to wait for it.
I think it's a generational thing. I think, Mike, because I think with the millennials and coming on and all that nowadays, they want called instant success. Everything has to be instant, right? And patience isn't there anymore. And a lot of fans, I tell you, if they don't produce, but I've been telling the Newcastle fans too, all the money in the world that you have, if you don't get it right, you won't get it right. That's all, right? But you will have a lot of chances. You will have a lot of chance to try, though.
It's not just fans, though. Owners now. If you're not successful quickly, get out. We'll get someone else.
Look at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Last. Go on, Chris. Go on.
Oh, carry on.
No, I was going to say it's one of the best models, even though they're a bit morally irreprehensible in terms of how they got there. But Red Bull, in the way the model that they do with football, it's truly sustainable. And yes, they have a lot of money behind them should they need to, but look at the size of their transfer deals. They're not going and splashing humongous deals. They're finding players like Haaland and developing them and then moving them on. But that's the model you should do. If you've got the money, take the time and do it right. Don't rush it, because it's just like when you go through puberty and you have those growing pains because you just shoot up really quick. It's the same problem because they'll have growing pains down the line. Yes, they'll never be in financial trouble, in the literal sense because of how much money they have behind them, but with financial fair play, and there will come a time where again, they're going to try and put other rules in again to stop these type of things happening, because it's always about the status quo. And the old guard.
They started, Mike. They've already not allowed what called PIF to sponsor whatever is in Newcastle at the moment.
I understand it, and I think that's right because you are then Man City with the Etihad and stuff. It's just all of a sudden you are just pumping money back in.
But if they really wanted to do it right, you still can't stop them. They'll set up another 20 shelf companies where push the money around the world and come back to you. So if they really want to do it, they will do it. But it's not money laundering. It's just called money rotation, cycling, recycling money around the world. Right, it goes around a few times, then it comes back to Newcastle. Oh, it's not mine. It came from some company in somewhere and belongs to somebody, and they're going to sponsor a shirt called something.
Yeah,
I mean, but in the end, because if like for Newcastle, right? If they put a blanket thing that says that no sponsorship dealings within the owners of the club of the country cannot put money into the club. Do you know that the PIF has got their hands in like every top business in the world? That means Nike can't sponsor them, Coca-Cola can't sponsor them, nobody can sponsor them, basically. Right. Yeah. So I don't know, but they'll find a way. In the end, they'll find a way.
Yeah, there's always is a way.
Yeah, that's always the way.
Coming back to the derby, last question. I'm not really going to answer this, but I'm going to ask you to.
You never do.
A coward when it comes to predicting scores, but who wins the derby? What I will say is, if we show the same intensity that we showed against Newcastle after they scored and Villa, then we can win. We can if we attack, get Kane and Son on the ball, then we can win. If we try to play a defensive game, we saw what happened against Palace, that the same thing will happen. But Eugene, who wins the derby for you? Obviously not who you want to win, who will win. Otherwise, that's going to be a very boring conversation with you saying Tottenham and Mike saying West Ham. But who do you think wins?
No, I said we've not had a draw. So to me, I see 2-2. I look at it as 2-2.
I don't think it would be 0-0 games against Tottenham, West Ham, and never 0-0.
West Ham is very seldom you get 0-0, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we ended.
I can't remember the last 0-0 that we had.
Would you take Eugene at this moment in time a 2-2, a draw away to West Ham?
Yeah. I'll take it.
We'd all take a Desmond, Chris. We'd all take a Desmond if it was a lot of fun.
if nothing more, just to say it's a Desmond.
Exactly.
Adam's got in touch. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Hey, Adam.
Adam says, he's Spurs fan. My heart says we will win. Brain doesn't know what to think. Adam taking my approach to prediction scoring, not sitting on the fence. But Mike, for you, who wins?
I think it all comes down to that first 20 minutes. Whoever starts with the right intensity in that 20 minutes, I think goes on to win it. I think we can win it. Whether we will, I don't know. At the moment, it's been a struggle, the first game after Europe, and our home form's not been amazing as yet. If it was away, you know what? Funny enough, if it was away, I'd think that we might nick it if we was playing away from home, because we seem to do better in away games at the moment. I think a draw is likely.
That's what Death in the Spotlight says. I'll take a score draw. Pains me to say it, but West Ham very solid team these days. But like you're saying, Mike, at home, not so much. So there is a hope there. But again, if we play defensively, not a chance for me. We have to go and attack you. And be that as it may, we'll get picked off potentially if we attack you and get done on the transition. But be that as it may, that's the only way we can win. In my eyes, by attacking you rather than going
really
for one.
Sit back. I think we will just keep coming, and then we will make something pay, because I don't think your defense is strong enough at the moment to deal with pressure. I know that sounds ridiculous to say after the Man City game where you guys did really well and you won that one, but since then I think the truer Tottenham have stood up. They were really
that Man City game. They played into our hands. They were aiming for a striker that just wasn't there. All their play was building up to get the cross into Harry Kane, who was sat at home. So it played into our hands. If they'd have played like Man City are playing now, good chance they'd have killed us.
No, exactly. And we have Antonio will be there. If it's not him, then you've got others that are trying to get into the box. And there's also Souček, who loves to make a late burst into the area. So, we have some aerial threats if we want to attack crosses. And, I think it's one of those games where I reckon it's probably going to be like a set piece that decides it. I think from our perspective, it'll be a set piece. As I say, I think some of our play in open play recently in home games hasn't been the best in terms of decision making. But at set pieces, I think if Cresswell set pieces are on, then I think we'll cause you quite a few problems, because I don't think Tottenham defensively at set pieces tend to do very well, especially since Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Yeah, I think since them two have gone defensively at set pieces, Tottenham do look a bit, like you can give them a little bit of a tickle and they might fall over. So I think if we can get some set pieces going and the delivery's on point, then I think we'll pose a threat. It's just one of those games that it's a derby.
It's 50-50.
Never predict a derby. A derby, you don't have to be. You can be in the worst form in the world, turn up for a derby, and then you somehow win it. It's form is irrelevant in derbies. I always find, which is why they're always so hard to predict.
Yeah, Ryan's got in touch. I haven't beaten them at home yet. We'll take a draw. I think most Spurs fans would. That will say, trying to guess what Spurs team turn up is like trying to guess the lottery numbers. If someone finds out what Spurs team will turn up and it's right, please tell me the lottery numbers, because I could do with a bit of a few million. But like you say, Mike, it's that first challenge sets the tone for which teams turn up. If both teams go in for it, both teams are up for it. If one team goes in for it, the other team aren't up for it.
Yeah,
that sets the tone, and that's what wins London derbies. That's why Arsenal battered us in that first half, because they turned up in that first half.
Yeah, London derbies.
We didn't, and the game was done.
The first challenge, whoever goes in and absolutely smashes into the challenge, people chasing down loose balls. It's those really small pieces in football games, in those derbies, that set the tone. A ball going out for a throw-in, but you refuse to let it go, and you pressure the fullback, and you push him into the crowd, or you push him off the pitch. It's those little things that seem nothing, but if you're the team that isn't making those runs, those pressures, those kind of challenges, it starts to play into your mind that they're really up for this. And then if you don't get yourself going very quickly after noticing that, before you know it, your back is against the wall and you are struggling to turn the tide, unless you have a bench in which to, unleash, which at the moment doesn't look like Tottenham really do, because the players seem to be are on the bench don't really seem to be of the same level of the 11.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adam saying a draw wouldn't be bad, but I really want a win. I think
so do I.
West Ham fans, Spurs fans would pretty much agree with that. But yeah, we've pretty much run out of time now. Thanks, guys, so much. Really good as well to have a kind of balanced chat with the Spurs chat and West Ham chat as well. Mike, I think you're coming on the review show on Monday, win, lose or draw, so hopefully you're a bit quieter there, because you bloody are. Before we go, Eugene, you mentioned it at the start, it's in the description as well, Spurs Eurasian TV, your YouTube channel, obviously on YouTube, but where can people find you on YouTube, and tell us a bit about your channel?
Spurs Eurasian TV, set it up to actually try to find more Asian Spurs fans to join me on the channel to do shows and all that. We found a few, and to make a bridge between the Asian fans and the fans at the home ground, in London and in the UK's, right? It's been going on for a while. Like I said, due to some technical issues, this Sunday I won't be doing the crazy show, which is usually my crazy show is actually five shows in one stream. Right, it starts from the preview, then it goes on to the watch along, and then of course the halftime show, and then it'll go for about 4 hours to 5 hours. But
they are Sunday crazy. If you haven't watched them, go watch them. You get a full match experience on Eugene's channel. Match day.
Yeah, but this Sunday because due to some technical problems, I'll be just doing a early short, we'll call 1.5 hour show, preview show for the West Ham game. And we'll see what happens then. And on Wednesdays, of course, we do have our midweek show. And maybe this Wednesday, I might be able to get a special guest to hop on. But just let me confirm first. I'll let you guys know on Twitter then. All right. Big up. Excellent. And don't forget, guys, subscribe to Chris. Let's talk Tottenham. Right. And smash the like. Okay. And Mike, do you have a channel, Mike?
No, I don't do channel. I just talk a lot of rubbish on Twitter.
You have a scouting Twitter account, don't you? So if anyone wants a scout report on a certain player, then they can tweet you? How do people get in touch?
Good question, mate. I ain't been on it for a while.
Well, you should bloody know it's your channel, mate.
I've been a bit slack, to be honest. But to be fair, I don't even need to get back onto it. But yeah, I do some scout reports sometimes on scouting _ BLT or BTL. So I do some reports on there. So just a couple of them I did from last year on players like Sven Botman and Milenkovic and a couple of others as well. But something I need to get back onto because I haven't done it in a while. I've been a bit lazy with it, to be perfectly honest.
I was saying to someone at work who's a West Ham fan, you clocked Daka, who's at Leicester now, a couple of years ago before anyone purchased him. Yeah, and Tommy Asu as well.
I also called out Huang as well. So before Daka, I called out Huang, who is now killing it at Wolves. My one thing that I would need to happen is West Ham to get Hulsuk from Sparta Prague. If we don't get him, I think I'm going to cry. And if he goes to another club, it's going to kill me. And a couple of guys that I know and I chat to quite a lot. We've chatting a lot about Pape Sarr, who you guys got. Gutted because he could be brilliant. And if he bulks up as well and adds some more kind of muscle to his frame, because he's quite slender, shall we say, at the moment, he could really be a brilliant player. He could be the player that I guess Tottenham fans are hoping Ndombele would have been more consistently, because he's truly box to box. He needs to work on a couple of things. He's still quite raw, but they're the type of players that you need to sign. And it pained me to see Tottenham signing him, because yet another player that I was saying I wanted. So it's a shame. Shame for me.
If you don't already, give Mike a follow. He's also got a personal channel, which I'll put in the description. So if you can't find his scout one, just tweet him on there. We'll be back. Hopefully, me and Mike. Hopefully, Mike a bit down in the dumps. Me fairly happy, but I'll be here anyway, regardless of the result on Monday with a few others. Hopefully, we can get the win there. Hopefully, 3 out of 3. Hopefully, really pushing for this European place and showing that we mean a bit of business. Eugene, thanks as always. You've been on every single one of my 12:30 shows, so you've set a precedent now. You can't leave any of them. Mike, cheers as always. Speak to you on Monday. And till Monday, come on, you Spurs.
Go on, you
Leave you out. Leave you out. Leave you out.
Thank you so much for watching. For everybody who participated in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Anybody who couldn't watch the live video, you can still catch us on YouTube. Add any comments, suggestions or questions to the comments section on the video. Anybody who's listened to the audio-only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anybody who wants the audio-only podcast, you get this wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter, @LTalk Tottenham, you'll find all the information there. We'll be back soon. We're live Mondays, 8 p.m, Fridays, 12:30 UK time. Until then, come on, you Spurs!